Welcome back, squad. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Full Ride, the college recruiting podcast. This is your host, Kito Delgado, and just so glad that you've tuned in yet again. I think this is episode 34. And if you're new to the show, welcome to our squad, where each and every Thursday we bring to you a new episode, and our goal is very simple. We want to help you learn the ins and outs of college recruiting. So we're really a podcast for parents of high school athletes. And we know that, the kids, they're more into watching television, they're watching YouTube, they're listening to their music and all that good stuff. No shade, no hate. It is what it is. But we're hopeful that our families, our parents that are listening to these episodes are then taking it back, taking this information, sharing it with their student athletes. But I would recommend, if you can, particularly if you guys have those newer cars, you can stream podcasts now in your cars. So while you guys are taking those long trips, to say, hey, we're gonna listen to this for the next 30 minutes. And, hopefully, you can, listen to some of these episodes as a family. But make no mistake about it. We know most of our 15, 16, 17-year-olds, they're not checking us out. That's okay. We try to reach out to them in a different way, whether it be on, Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook. We try to meet them where they are. But I know our parents, you guys are definitely on, listening to the podcast. And I'm just so glad, I'm so humbled that you turn to us as a source for your college recruiting needs. And many of you, I'm getting at least one or two, words of encouragement every week from a few parents. And I just want to thank you guys so much. I'm not going to embarrass you and call you out by name, but you know who you are. Really means the world to me. And if you could just take those same words that you're sharing with me, and then actually write a review for the podcast on your favorite podcast app, particularly Apple Podcasts. That would be a big help, because the more reviews we have, the more show ranks we have, the easier it is for us to be found by other families. So if we could take a few moments to write a quick review, that would be really helpful. Please and thank you. Before I get to today's topic, which is the season's over, now what? Right? I'm going to say that one more time. The season is over. Now what? Before I get to that, just want to make sure you guys can find us. You can always head on over to our website. That's the easiest place to start. And it is yourecruityou.com. Yourecruityou.com. And I actually got asked the other day why we named our company You Recruit You. And it's really simple. Ultimately, I always say college recruiting, it's all about you taking control of the process. It starts and ends with you, student athletes, whether it's taking care of business in the classroom, whether it's working out, getting stronger, bigger, faster, whether it's studying and taking the SAT, whether it's reaching out to college coaches, whether it's attending showcases and ID camps. Ultimately, it's up to you, families, to take control of the process. It's up to you, student athlete, to take control of your recruiting journey. Don't sit back, don't wait, don't hope. No, have a plan, execute it, get to work. And that's why we said you recruit you. Don't sit back and wait for them to recruit you. No, you recruit you. So I hope that that helps you, because I have been asked that question a few times. I just want to make sure I cleared that up. So yeah, it's yourecruityou.com. And as always, for those of you, that's the first time you're hearing it, it's just the letter U, recruit, and then the letter U.com. And then, of course, you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. It's at YouRecruitYou. And then we have a Facebook page called You Recruit You. And I'm thinking about starting a group on Facebook. where, I know there's a couple of other companies that already have it, but I figure, the more the merrier. So I'm thinking about having a Facebook group, kind of that allows parents to interact with me directly, ask some questions, not only of myself, but also of other members. That probably won't happen until 2020 though at the earliest, but it is something I'm thinking about. Would love to hear your feedback on that. But yeah, so we're talking about the season is over, now what? And if your son or daughter is a freshman or a sophomore, and maybe even a junior, I'm not saying turn off this particular episode, but I do want to be clear that I'm really talking to my seniors for the most part. Juniors, they can fit into for sure. Freshman, sophomore, not so much, but you can definitely listen. I'm sure there's going to be some value to you, but I really got to talk to my seniors, right? And my seniors and, the parents of seniors. Because let's say you play a winter sport or fall sport, and the season is over. You play football, soccer, in all the fall sports. And you're a senior, that's your primary sport, right? So I'm not talking about if you play basketball or you play baseball, you still got your seasons to go. But you play one of those fall sports and now your season's over. Your career is over. And it's kind of like, now what? And I want to drill down even further, and because I know many of the families who are listening to our podcast are parents of kids who may be under the radar recruits. They're flying under the radar. You may not have many offers, or if you have any offers, they're not really any that you're interested in. And you're kind of in that spot. First of all, I wanted to lend some encouragement to you, right? Because I think that's really important. Many of you may be in a position right now that doesn't make you feel good, right? And I'm not talking about because the season is over, or maybe you didn't win states, this has nothing to do with the outcome of your season. That has nothing to do with your stats. It's just the standpoint of, man, like, I'm not really where I want to be from a college recruiting standpoint. I'm not really on anybody's radar. I don't have any offers. I see other kids on Twitter or my teammates, signing their national letters of intent last week. And I haven't signed mine. And I just want to quickly just tell you that it's not over. It's not over. There's a lot of time. Now, you gotta operate with some urgency. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. You're behind the 8 ball. Not gonna sugarcoat that. But it's not over. So what you gotta do though is, like I said, operate with some urgency, but you also have to have some hope. You gotta have some hope. But with that hope has to come a lot of grit. It has to come, some persistency. It has to come with some humility, because the bottom line is you may have thought, 2 years ago, a year ago, your situation was going to be a lot different, and it's not. So now you got to humble yourself a little bit. Maybe you got to realign, be a little more realistic, right? You thought you were D1, but no, you're a D2, right? So now I do need you to make sure that you shift that mindset a little bit. Maybe you need to be a little more realistic with your expectations. But most importantly, I just don't want you to give up. Right? Don't give up. I've said it once. I'll say it 100 times more. And when it comes to this and really anything in life, you hit a roadblock. You're not reaching your goal. Don't change the goal. Just change the plan. Right? And obviously, what you've been doing hasn't worked up until this point. If you're a senior, I'm just being 100% with you. If you're a senior who just got done finishing the fall season, and you have no offers, then clearly you've made some mistakes along the way. Probably, I'd say you haven't been proactive enough. That's the number one mistake you all have made. You've been sitting back, hoping and assuming you're going to get discovered and you haven't, and that's why you're where you are, quite frankly. So the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So now, over the next 3 to 6 months, you really have to put yourself out there, and you have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable. I'm working with a few families, and I tell them, "Oh, do this," and they're like, "Really? I gotta do that? You think I should do this?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And they're like, "Wow, I never thought of that." And I was like, "Yeah, most families don't think about doing this." And I'm telling you, if you do it, you're gonna stand out. It's gonna help you. So you got to be uncomfortable with you got to be comfortable, with being uncomfortable. So that's kind of like my little monologue, if you will. But take out your notepads, pen or paper, and let's just get right into this week's class, if you will. Right. So number one, and again, I'm primarily talking to my seniors now, but I think it's still helpful for all my other underclassmen. But I'm just trying to talk to my seniors because I know there's that sense of urgency, and I want to make sure I help you out as much as I can. So number one is start completing your FAFSA. FAFSA, mom and dad. These are released October 1. You could have started the process. Well, I just want to encourage you, before you know it, June 30th, which is the deadline, I believe, before you know it, that deadline is going to come. And, I've read on multiple sites, the earlier you start to apply for FAFSA, the more opportunity there is for you to get more money. So if I'm a mom, if I'm a dad, if I'm a guardian, whatever the case may be, I'm definitely making sure that I complete that sooner rather than later. Doesn't have too much to do with recruiting directly as far as, getting scholarship offers, but it does help you, as you figure out, what you are going to be able to qualify for. Then as you start to negotiate with coaches on an offer, it's just kind of nice to have that information, handy. So number two, and I say this respectfully, very, very respectfully, because it doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't, I'm not judging, but it blows my mind that I continue to meet student athletes who are seniors, by the way, who are like 3 months into their senior year, and they haven't taken the ACT or the SAT. I mean, that's a pretty big deal if you want to go to college to begin with. Yes, there are some schools that don't require it anymore, but the last I checked, the NCAA, the NAIA, JUCOs, they still require, you take the ACT or the SAT. So until further notice, I am a huge proponent of taking it at least once, minimum. And now you can push back if you want. I'm fine with it, but you should at least take it your sophomore year of your high school year, of high school, sorry. You should take it for the very first time your sophomore year, right? Now, if you say you don't want to do that, I'm not going to argue too much with you. That's fine. But I like sophomore, just because it just gives you a good early start of what you want to expect. But bare minimum, you should be taking it during your junior year, right? So obviously, though, this particular episode is about our seniors already. So if you're a family and your son or daughter has not taken the SAT and they're a senior, I have a very honest question for you. What are you waiting for? All right? Go on to the website. You need to register, and you need to take the next available ACT, the next available SAT. No more waiting. Talk about urgency. This is one of those times. I need you to have some urgency here, right? And probably you're going to need to take it twice. So register right away. Don't waste time. go ahead and do that. So that's number 2, right? And by the way, I'm trying to help you get the ducks in a row. These are some things that maybe just slip through the cracks. This isn't glamorous. I'm gonna get to a few things in a little bit that helps you directly with recruiting. Don't worry, but these are just some things I just want you to make sure that you are thinking about, over the next month or two, right? The season is over. Now you guys should really be able to shift and focus all the way on college recruiting, right? So you're not juggling any more balls when it comes to that standpoint. Number 3, meet with your guidance counselor, right? Meet with your guidance counselor, because you got to remember, if you're a Division I, Division II athlete, you need to complete 16 core classes by the end of your senior year. So you want to make sure that you're on track, right? You want to make sure, and I talked a lot about this last week, so I'm not going to even go too much into the weeds. I don't want to repeat myself. I promise you, if you want to learn about core classes, how to calculate your GPA, all that stuff, just listen to last week's episode. I promise you I cover it all. So I'm going to do a high level here because I know I have our listeners who listen every single week, and they'll kill me if I go into it again. So, but I do want just to stress, though, families, connect with your guidance counselor, and when you go, just print, make sure you, here's a couple things I want you to do when you're meeting with them. Just double check to see that you're on track with your core classes. You should have at least by now 12 completed, and then you may have 4 more to go this year, and that's totally fine. You also want to, I know I was meeting with a family, I was reviewing their transcript, and I told them that he's a senior, and I told him, oh, you only have like 11 core classes because you failed Spanish your freshman year, so that it didn't count. And he says, wait a minute, no, I went to summer school, I got that fixed. I was like, oh, well, you better go to your guidance counselor and make sure that they put your grade, because you did pass it, right? He's like, yeah, I passed it. I got an A in summer school. So it's like, you definitely want to get that on there, because not only are you going to get credit for the class, but then it's also going to help raise your GPA if you got a good grade in summer school. So those are things that you want to do. Meet with your guidance counselor. Make sure that you're on track for your core classes. Make sure, calculate your GPA with them to make sure that you're on track. Figure out what you need. Speaking of SAT, look at your core classes, look at your core GPA, and then make sure you know exactly what number you have to hit on that sliding scale, right? And remember, the lower your GPA, the higher you have to score on your SAT. So hopefully you're in a good position, and you don't have to, score too high just to be eligible. But you definitely want to do that. Meet with your guidance counselor. Make sure you're on the right path from that standpoint. Number 4. Okay, now this is for all of you who are, looking for some recruiting, some real, recruiting tips. So you need to, and I would recommend, some of you, if you don't have many highlights from your junior year, don't worry about it. But I really think you want to, as a family, put together your final highlight. Some people just put together their senior year highlights, and that's cool. I'm not saying don't do that. Like if you only have 1 year of varsity experience, or maybe you did play varsity last year, but you were like a backup, then fine, just highlight your senior year highlights. But I also work with families where, their son or daughter, they're like a 4-year, varsity player, or they've played at least 3 years on varsity. I'm not saying put your sophomore year highlights in your final highlight package, but what I would definitely do is consider looking at your junior year and senior year highlights and combining them. Like take your top 20 to 25 plays from the last 2 years and put together a really nice highlight. Here's the thing though, I was talking to a running back, and he showed me his on Twitter, as a matter of fact, and he shared his link with me. So I was watching his huddle, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. He had a lot of great highlights, but all of his plays were the same. Just long touchdown runs. He made a person miss, and then he just outran everybody. And again, great plays, not knocking the plays, but they showed no versatility. No versatility whatsoever. No plays of him blocking, no plays of him catching passes. Even like, a nice 10-yard, run where he broke a tackle or he ran somebody over or he made somebody miss. Like literally, like it was 3 minutes of him just taking off, 40-yard, 50-yard runs. Again, not knocking him, but just watching that over and over again. That's not what coaches want to see. They want to see versatility. So that's why I'm saying if you take the last 2 years, put together a highlight with 20 to 25, then you're going to be able to really show, hopefully, some of your versatility. All right? You want to, show you doing different things. You don't want to just repeat over and over and over again. All right? And here's a quick tip with that. I'm a big believer. Any person that talks to me, I always tell them to copy genius. Right? Copy genius. So many times people want to try to reinvent the wheel. It's like, no. I have no problem. Now, obviously, in the right context. I'm not saying go to class and copy your, somebody's test paper. So students, that's not what I'm talking about, all right? But what I'm saying is copy genius. In this context, what I'm saying is, Huddle and YouTube, people don't, delete, their Huddle or their YouTube pages. So once, let's say somebody, they're a freshman in college right now, they're a sophomore in college, there's a good chance their highlights are still on YouTube or Huddle. And this is a tip that I share with families. And I hope it's helpful to you. I like it a lot. I'm not going to lie. And I'm giving it to you, and I hope you like it and it's helpful to you. But what I tell them is this. You identify a couple of your top schools that you want to go to, right? Go to their website, click on their roster, and then find the student athlete that's a freshman or a sophomore that plays the same position as you. Make note of their name and where they're from. And then I want you to go to Huddle or YouTube, different, video sharing websites, and type in that individual's name and where they're from. And I'd say 7 out of 10 times, if they're a freshman or a sophomore in college, their highlight from high school is going to show up. And the reason why I want you to look at their highlight film is because if they're already at the school that you want to go to, all you want to do is you want to mirror their highlight film. Because it worked for them, there's a good chance it'll work for you. Now, obviously, your plays are going to be different, but you can kind of see, based off of their highlights, the types of plays a college coach wants to see. So again, I'll say it. Identify one or two, your top schools. Go to their website, click on the roster. Look for a freshman or a sophomore on that team that plays your same position. Search them out on YouTube or Huddle. Watch their film, and then try to mirror their film as much as possible. All right? So that's number 4, right? Get your highlights in order. That goes without saying. Don't make it too long. No music. And put that together. And then last but not least, you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to start contacting coaches. Right? You got to contact coaches. And when I say contact coaches, there's almost like a formula that I would recommend, which is first, fill out the online questionnaire. Easy peasy. You want to fill that out for all the schools that you have an interest in. And by the way, you notice I didn't say that have an interest in you. No, because that ship has passed. You've been waiting for those schools who you hope would have an interest in you to reach out to you. They haven't done it yet. So now you have to recruit you recruit you. You have to identify those schools yourself and reach out to them directly. So the way you do that is you complete the online questionnaire. And then if it's me, I'm following it up with an email with the name of the coach. So let's say the coach is Smith. Hey, dear Coach Smith, my name is, insert your name. I'm a class of, class of 2020, and I want to learn more. I'm interested in learning more about your program. And there's a couple of different things that I would add, but just in the interest of time. But you start off with something like that. Let them know you fill out your online questionnaire. I would also recommend, if you don't have one, I have a couple that I provide to families that I work with directly. But there's like a player profile, like kind of like a highlight sheet that you should attach to the email. But yeah, I would include that, and I would send it off, and I would do that to about 5 coaches a day. You need to get up to about 50 schools over the next 30 days. And some of you guys just heard that, and you're like, what? So I'm going to say it real slow for you. You need to reach out to roughly 50 schools over the next 30 days. So that's about what? 2 a day? If you can't do 2 emails a day, then I highly question whether or not you really want to play in college. Because that's not a big ask. Email 2 coaches a day. And then the following week, you're going to call them if you don't hear back from them via email. And here's why it's so important, though, for you to make sure you've taken the ACT or the SAT. And it's really important for you to have an updated transcript, because if they are interested in you, if they look at your highlight and they say, okay, he can play, she can play, you best believe the next question they're going to ask is, how'd you do on your SAT? How'd you do on your ACT? What's your GPA? Can you send us your transcript? And you don't want to be in a position where, oh, I don't have that. I haven't taken my SAT. Like, what? You're a senior. You haven't taken an SAT? So you want to definitely do that sooner rather than later, right? You want to be prepared so that when they do reach out to you, you can say, yep, here I go. There's nothing worse than not being prepared for an opportunity when it presents itself to you, right? So you have all your ducks in a row. You reach out to them first, and then when they reply and they ask for something, you can say, yep, here I go. Here you go, coach. Boom. Oh, you want to see my highlight tape? Here you go, coach. It's all set. Here's my huddle link. Oh, you want to see my top 2 play? Excuse me. Let me slow down. You want to see 2 full games? Okay, here are my 2 full games, coach. Boom. You want to have everything locked and loaded. You're a senior. You're not a freshman. You're not a sophomore. You're not a junior. You're a senior. You got about 6 months to figure this out. So urgency, right? So I definitely need you to contact coaches over the next 30 days. Be very aggressive. Be very proactive. But again, going back to what I said earlier, you got to be realistic. If you haven't gotten any offers yet, you're not a Division I player. Just keep it at 100 with you. I shouldn't say that. Odds are you're not a Division I player, because they would have found you. You're probably more of a D2, you're a JUCO, you're an NAIA type student athlete. And that's another thing real quick. I just mentioned JUCO because I know a lot of you guys want the Division I, Division II, Division III scholarship opportunities and all that stuff. But JUCO may be your route. And they offer scholarships. You can get your 2-year degree. You get to play football, whatever your sport is. You get to play your sport, get a scholarship, get a good foundation, and you can always transfer later on. But don't dismiss those opportunities too, because some of you, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. It's too late for you to play Division NCAA next year. It's just straight up, or NAIA. You don't have enough credits. Your GPA is too low. You're not going to qualify via the SAT. So now it's like, okay, what I said earlier. I'm not saying don't change the goal, but you may have to reroute. You gotta change the plan. Your path now to college is going to change. Maybe you got to go JUCO. You got to go to prep, but you also got to, again, this goes back to being realistic. You got to look at the writing on the wall, right? One of the dads who reached out to me, he said, you got some, you say it, some harsh realities. You give us some harsh realities. I'm like, yeah, I do, because too much is at stake for me to sugarcoat it. So I'm being real with you right now. If you got like a 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 GPA, you haven't taken the SAT or the ACT, start thinking about JUCO. Start thinking about prep school. Just do that now. Save yourself the time, the energy, the frustration. don't even bother reaching out to NCAA teams right now, because they may be interested in you, but as soon as they look at your transcript, as soon as they see your SAT in it, they're just going to move on. So you're going to get all excited only to be let down. So if you got like under a 2.0, your SAT is real low, or you haven't taken it, start thinking JUCO. Just being 100% real with you and honest. I'd rather you just deal with the realities sooner rather than later. All right? But that's what I got for you this week. I hope it's helpful to you. And again, as always, I really am thankful that you've checked us out. I encourage you to visit us at yourecruityou.com. And also give us a like or a follow, whatever the terminology is, but give us a follow or a like on Instagram, Twitter, or on Facebook. And but until next time, this is your college recruiting coach, Kito Delgado, reminding you that college recruiting starts with you. What steps are you taking today to earn an athletic scholarship tomorrow?